Hello, welcome, and thank you to members of the press, to senators, to my fellow ultrasound colleagues for being here today. My name's Suzette, and I'm here for the New Mexico Alliance for Life. We're here to shine a light on a very serious issue taking place in New Mexico right now. An issue that SB 347, the Healthcare Workers Conscience Protection Act, addresses. We want voters to know that this bill has been withheld from having a fair committee hearing in this legislature. You will hear from real medical professionals in New Mexico who are feeling pressured or coerced to participate in abortions by their employer despite their deeply held beliefs against their conscience. Now let's clarify immediately. We're talking about elective abortion. This is not medically or legally the same as an ectopic pregnancy or care after a miscarriage. Now this issue is not going away, but instead it's intensifying. Just last year, in parts of this country, doctors were being pressured to perform, quote, emergency abortions. Now, a child can be delivered early. It does not need to be aborted to save a woman's life. In short, New Mexico must pass a state law ensuring conscience protections for medical professionals. Federal conscience protections are insufficient due to gaps in enforcement, scope, clarity, and balancing patient access to care. New Mexico used to have state conscience protections. You may not know that until they were intentionally removed. In 2022, I testified against then House Bill 57 and Senate Bill 13, the Reproductive and Gender Affirming Protection Act, which eventually became law. Time and time again, when these very concerns about healthcare workers being forced to participate in abortions were raised in the committee hearings in this very building, we were told that the federal conscience protections were sufficient, that the state protections were not needed. We were obviously misled, because that's why we're here today, with medical professionals pressured to participate in abortions against their conscience and forced to get legal representation just to protect their rights. This would not be taking place if SB 347 were law. We all studied for years to be able to identify and measure in utero the liver, the lungs, the spleen, blood vessels, bones, the heart. We see and measure babies as early as 6 weeks. Later on, we see their faces before they're ever born. And yet we are being told to ignore all that, even ignore our religion, and physically assist in ending that little life. Meanwhile, at the same time, we grieve with and for other parents who love and lose their babies at the same exact stage of development due to natural causes. Despite what we were told by pro-abortion activists in the legislature who removed intentionally the state's long-standing conscience protections, federal conscience protections are clearly not sufficient. We already desperately need healthcare workers, and this makes it even harder to get and keep quality providers here in New Mexico. We simply have a group of pro-abortion activists who want to force their beliefs on everyone and trample over the good, hardworking medical providers' honest, deeply held convictions. But that's not how it's supposed to work in the United States of America. Now is the time to give back the conscience protections that our health workers used to have before they were stripped away under false pretenses in 2022. All we have to do is pass SB 347. Finally, we have an important resource for any other healthcare providers who are being pressured or coerced or experiencing a hostile work environment due to their beliefs. We want to hear from you. Simply visit the brand new portal at www.nmallianceforlife.org. You are not alone. We want to connect you with resources. We want to give you an avenue to have a voice to raise your concerns and your experiences. Thank you so much. We are not asking for anything new. We're asking for a restoration of rights that were removed here in New Mexico. Now I'd like to introduce some colleagues to tell you directly about their experiences and these wonderful members of our legislature, senators, who are here to speak to our concerns. Thank you again so much. William Pacheco. Thank you.
Hello there, good morning. Name is William Pacheco. I have been a registered diagnostic medical sonographer for over 35 years here in New Mexico. I work at a major hospital in Albuquerque performing various ultrasounds. I also teach students how to perform ultrasound too. About a year ago, my department and I received a request to help with an elective abortion in our main OR, operating room. At that time, we were extremely busy and we could only offer a machine, and that we could let the doctor use the machine, and they know how to operate them and do the exam also. I have helped in performing D&Cs, dilatation and curettage, in the OR on babies that have passed away from natural causes, or when a woman has had to retain products of conception left in the uterus after delivery of the baby. You have to get those products out or else you can get very sick. I've helped with those. I've never thought in my 35 years plus that the thought never entered my mind that I would be asked to participate in assisting with an abortion at my work. This type of elective abortion procedure goes against my religious beliefs and moral values. I became an ultrasonographer to help people. Assisting in an abortion goes against everything I believe in. I had assumed I was protected by the federal laws that were passed many years ago. I also thought that the hospital's religious exemption form would protect me. But my hospital changed the wording of the form last October and put me at risk of being removed from my department, placed on a 4-week unpaid leave, and eventually could be forced to resign if I refused to assist in something that goes against my every fiber of my being. I felt alone and I need someone on my side. I had been listening to American Center for Law and Justice on the radio, ACLJ on the radio, for many years. I reached out to them and they took our case. With their help and guidance, my coworkers and myself, who also value human life very much, finally got our religious exemption. But the time I spent worrying about my job, would I have one or not, sleepless nights, stress, that I do not wish on anyone. This bill, SB 347, Healthcare Workers Conscious Protection Act, needs to be passed so that other healthcare workers won't have to go through this, what I went through. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your time here. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Do you want to speak? We have another ultrasonographer who would like to speak to you, and then we will hand it over to our senators.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Arredondo. I'm here as a sonography educator, representing myself. I don't speak on behalf of the school for which I teach, but bringing what I do know, my knowledge about another aspect another, I think, implication of bills and policies and procedures like these. I think it's very similar. We saw a foreshadowing of what could happen here with COVID. So I work with students, and we saw students, the concern in students increase at the how these kinds of policies would impact their employment ability, their employment opportunities, if they, like other sonographers, had these conscious objections. So we did see not only concern, angst, anxiety go up among students, among faculty, people withdrawing. I know in my role that many of the major facilities, hospitals, etc., have reached out to us about the shortages in sonographers, healthcare workers in general, but in particularly sonographers. And I think that policies like this will only exacerbate that problem. In my experience, more people might withdraw from pursuing these career fields because of their concern for either employment opportunities or being forced to do things that they don't feel are right, that they would object to consciously. So I'm just speaking from that perspective today, that I know that that would impact the flow of workers in this already underserved field. I think that's all for me today, but thank you for your time and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Monica would just like to say a couple words.
Hello, my name is Monica Pata, and I also work for a hospital in Albuquerque, very well known in the entire state. I have been a sonographer for, it's going to be 21 years next month, and I also was put in the position of having to decide whether I was going to be forced to do procedures against my beliefs and what I decided to go into healthcare for. I went into healthcare to help people, not to take the lives of innocent fetuses. So I come here today to support the SB 347, basically so other employees do not have to go through what my coworkers and I did the entire last year when we were unaware of where our position stood. So I just hope that you guys listen and try to make the right move to protect New Mexico so that we have state protection in addition to federal protection. Thank you.
Thank you, senators.
We'll have Senator Gabriel Ramos, one of Senate Bill 347's primary sponsors, speak, and then followed by Senator Tobiasen, and then we'll have a few more speak. Thank you.
Thank you. I really do appreciate you calling this conference together, and this bill means a lot to me. I've got a lot of friends, families that are nurses, doctors, and they all push this conscience clause. And Senate Bill 347, the Healthcare Workers Conscience Protection Act, is very important to many people. This bill upholds individual rights and religious liberty. It affirms that no one should be forced to violate deeply held ethical religious beliefs in the course of their professional duties. This bill also promotes workforce diversity and inclusion. It provides professionals from a variety of cultural, ethical, and religious backgrounds to do what they feel is right and utilize their conscience to do what they feel is their true belief. This bill strengthens ethical standards in healthcare. It reinforces the principles that ethical integrity is central to healthcare. Doctors and nurses joined these professions to help people, to do what they can to help people survive. And they're being asked to do things quite the contrary. This bill encourages retention and recruitment. It provides assurance to prospective healthcare workers that their personal beliefs will be respected, helping attract and retain skilled professionals to the state of New Mexico. This bill is protecting workers' rights. Protecting workers' rights is really important to the state of New Mexico, and this should be no different. This bill is conscience protection for all our healthcare workers, from nurses to doctors to anyone else that has to be involved in these type of procedures. The left believes that choice is important, but what happens to the doctors and nurses' choice? We need to make sure that we pass a bill that gives them the choice to religious freedoms and make sure that they are able to do what they wish and save people, not to go backwards. I don't think anyone in the state of New Mexico would be against doctors and nurses when it comes to their conscience on this issue. This shouldn't be a bipartisan issue. This should be a New Mexican issue. And I thank you for this time, and we'll do everything we can to continue this mission on passing this bill. It hasn't been heard this session, but we will continue to work as hard as we can and as diligently as we can to get this done for our healthcare workers. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Senator Nicole Tobiasen. I represent District 21 in Northeast Albuquerque. And I'm a sponsor on this bill along with Senator Ramos and many of our other senators because we're living in an age where we give every person of every thought the exception. We give them the ability to make their personal choices based on their beliefs, religion, personal belief systems, whatever it is. And like Senator Ramos said, we have all the choices available to women in this state, and then some, actually. And I'm okay with that because we should be using the same exceptions for our medical providers. If we're giving women every choice all along the way in their pregnancy, if they're in a health crisis, they get the choice. These medical providers who have dedicated their entire lives to serving other human beings should be afforded the same exception. And then when it comes to the baby boxes, I know that one of our other senators will be talking about that. We've proven that these baby boxes are saving lives and actually saving adults in their families. Because if a new mother is in crisis, we're affording a very easy way for her to relieve herself of that crisis, maybe her family situation from the crisis. And if she feels like that baby is not a baby that she can provide for, if she doesn't want that baby, whatever the reasons are, we're giving these women across the state the ability to say, fine, I'm going to do this in a responsible way. It's already born. It's a life. It's not in conflict with women's choice in the state. Actually, it's providing them more choices. And I'm looking at all sorts of legislation. I spoke about it on the floor the other night. As a freshman senator, I am absolutely frustrated with the process at this point in the session. These important bills, they're important to people. You saw the emotion of these professionals. These important bills should be heard. They shouldn't be held back because of a chair's personal beliefs or emotion around a subject. This is a democracy, and these bills should have their space in this roundhouse, and they should be heard. Thank you so much.
I believe next up we have Senator Pat Boone, and then followed by Senator Candy Ezell, who has an update regarding the capital outlay allocation that's been talked about recently, and then we will conclude with Senator David Gallegos with an update from the governor regarding the baby box legislation. So, thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Brandon. As Brandon said, my name's Pat Boone. I'm from the east side, District 27. I represent all or parts of Roosevelt, DeBaca, Curry, Lee, and Chaves counties. One of my greatest beliefs, strongest beliefs, is life. and just life itself. Almighty God created man and He created woman, and He created the process from which they come together and can make another life. And I believe that life is precious and deserves to be protected from the moment of conception. So that's my belief right there. And I believe that these efforts to protect every single person's beliefs and their consciences, I believe that's important. But I also believe that the life of that individual is the most important. So that's where I concentrate my efforts, and that's where I really believe that God put me in this position to defend. And I believe that Senator Ramos's bill is very important. I believe it needs to be heard, whether it be this year or gets strengthened through the interim, or we have to bring it back next year. I believe that the consciences, the beliefs, and the work of these medical people needs to be protected, just like the life of that child. I think if this goes against their beliefs, I think they need to be protected, and I believe this bill is greatly important, and I think it needs to be heard. And I think the baby boxes, I mean, to move on from there, the baby boxes that Senator Gallegos is working so hard to bring about and to get into the mainstream of life, I think it's great. I think we're going to be giving life and opportunity to those babies that otherwise wouldn't have it. So I totally support that too. And I just believe in life, and I believe in the sanctity of life, and I pledge my work in this State House. I pledge it to always stand in protection of life. And I believe that kind of puts me in a nutshell where I stand. I have many other beliefs, but I'm not going to go any further than that. I'm just going to leave it at that. And I believe these people need to be protected. And I believe, most of all, I believe that life needs to be protected. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Candy Spency-Zell, State Senator from Chavis-Nettie County, District 32. Yesterday evening, after we finished the floor session on the Senate side, I was listening to the capital outlay hearing on the House side of it. And some of the members started raising concerns about who had the extra $10 million that was being spent. Nobody could figure it out. I had a feeling they had a pretty good idea what it was for. It was the governor's capital outlay that put in $10 million to build another abortion clinic. And IPRA request showed that it would be built here in Santa Fe. Folks, what are we doing? That is taxpayers' dollars, and I am opposed to that. That is your hard-paying dollar that will be the second abortion clinic that is being built with the governor's capital outlay in the state of New Mexico. We have heard the testimony of these fine people sitting over here because we do have rights. We have Senate Bill 347 that you've heard about. We have heard about, or fixing to hear about, Senator Gallegos' expansion of the baby boxes. There are alternatives to abortions. I don't like listening to the news where a baby has been thrown in a trash dumpster. I don't like hearing about a baby that was born that was put in a trash can in the hospital. There are too many families out there that want to have a child, that want to be able to love this child. What I'm here today to oppose, folks, we have to stop the nonsense that's going on in New Mexico over abortions, because I do not want our state being known as the abortion capital of the United States. Voice your opinion, folks. Thank you very much, and thank you for y'all's testimony.
And before Senator David Gallegos gives his baby box update, working with the governor, Senate Republican leader Bill Scher is going to give some testimony from the caucus.
Greetings. Thank you. So, a couple of things that are really important. Our conscience. If we can't live by our own conscience, then that's worse. That's worse than not being able to speak. When you tell us what we can't do or can't say, but now they're telling us what we can't think. And that is just disgusting to me. How is that possible that we now have medical providers that are told that they must do things that they can't even wrap their mind around because they feel that it's just wrong. It's evil, in fact. That's their feeling. And now we're going to just make them do those kind of things? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I'm not going to take the baby box thing, but I was in that room last night. What they said was disgusting. Representative Hall, y'all need to talk to him. He told a story as a San Juan County Sheriff's deputy. If it didn't make you cry, absolutely heartless. And they didn't cry. If Senator Gallegos can tell the story without crying, then I'm gonna let him, because I can't. And it was heartless what the committee members said. So, briefly, baby boxes save lives, all lives. And our medical providers should not be forced to do things that they can't do for the very same reason. They're there to save lives, and we need to protect them.
Thank you, Senator.
Hello there, I'm State Senator David Gallegos. I'm the Republican Caucus Chair here in the Senate. I serve District 41, which is Eddy and Lee County. I've got Lieutenant Wickersham with me. He's the gentleman that started the process on the baby box for Espanola. He's been at it 7 years. I've been at it 6 years, so he's got more time with this than I do. But I do want to thank y'all for standing. This is a hard place to come to if you have true beliefs, if you're sincere. I'm pro-life. The baby boxes have nothing to do with pro-life. They're after the birth. But it's one of those things to see people come up here to Santa Fe, who we work for, asking for their rights to be given back to them. I am totally in support of what you need, because it's important that you guys have the freedom to do what your conscience tells you and what you've been trained to do. But Chief Wickersham and I were at the hearing last night. Actually, I'm grateful for him. He woke me up last night to make it back to the Capitol. I've been ill for a few days. We had a hearing last night at 11:30. Yep. And our bill, this is the third bill we've had this year on this, and just a little history. This one here was an emergency bill that the governor had asked us to put in. The Republican leaders on the House side gave us an emergency bill to forward the process of the Safe Haven bill, because there's 360, which was rolled by its main supporter. Then there's 499 that was mine and others. Both of them were gone in one night, in one committee. Last night, we had issues. As Senator Scher was talking about, we had one legislator that was talking about his role in his life where he's a first responder and he's gone out to a scene to pick up live babies. But he said the worst thing he's ever had to do is pick up a dead baby. And you could have heard a pin drop. He was talking from his heart. I know not a lot of New Mexicans were up at that time of day, early morning. But it was one of those things that was not responded to by the other side. I would ask that New Mexico would continue to watch what's going on here in the Capitol. If their bill doesn't pass this year, contact the governor. She's already given us the okay that she's going to give us a message in 30 days for the safe haven bill. We are working together. We have compromised. We have agreed last July on wording and information. Now, we call him Wick, but John Wickersham and I are going to start going to the natives, to the nation, pueblos, and tribes to get their buy-in on what we do if it's a Native American baby. That seems to be the hitch. There's two hitches. That one's the first one. They don't want us giving a Native American baby to someone that's other than Native. So we're trying to work through that. The other thing is, I had one of the legislators that tabled my original bill, 499, says this is an abortion bill. I stated, I'm pro-life, but this bill has nowhere in the language that says anything about abortion. In New Mexico, we are abortion up to point of birth. The safe haven law allows that mother to give that child in a pristine situation. Those baby boxes have alarms, they get
Temperature regulated.
they get information on their cell phone. It is well documented that there's a child in there, but yet it has nothing to do with the word abortion. We have currently 3 little boys that have life, 2 of them in Hobbs, where the one was thrown in the dumpster. And I venture to say that Ibn Saul, the one that was thrown in the dumpster, one day will look back on this and say that he changed New Mexico, because there's 3 little boys that we know of. This last week, I got to go to Albuquerque and hold Michael while his mom and dad were being interviewed for today. One of the movie news areas wanted to interview him, so I got to babysit. Huge blessing. The process works. It protects the mother, not totally, because we need some language to be changed, but it will protect the mother, so they would be able to give that child a second chance. We had a letter yesterday that I wanted to read, and it talks about, they're talking to Monica Kelsey from Safe Haven Box on how what she has done for this mother, one of the mothers to deposit the baby, and the freedoms that she feels, and the understanding that she did the right thing for the baby. So it's critical that we get with the governor and let her know that your bill, your rights need to be heard. Always remind us, we work for you. You don't have to beg to us because we work for you. But on Safe Haven bill, she's already given us that blessing that we will have a message next year. But in the interim, John and I are going to go tribe to tribe, pueblo to pueblo, into the nation and ask their input on how we perfect this so all New Mexicans are covered and safe, and that every mother that places a baby in that safe haven box can do it without fear of retribution from her own state, that in the 7 years he's been working on this, the 6 years I've been working on this, we have not been able to protect the mother. But I thank you all for your time. I thank you to be invited to this, because it's incredible. We need to get the word out. New Mexico is failing New Mexicans, but we're willing to put money in for others from out of state, but we fail our own people. So thank you for that. Thank you, John, for all you do.
Thank you, Senator.
God bless y'all.
Thank you, Senator.